Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Threadlings, a filmmaking production diary. I'm Miguel Ortega and this is Tran Ma.
Hello, everyone.
We're talking about the making of an animated film in Unreal Engine. Yeah, with a tiny team
Called the Threadlings.
called the
Yeah,
Threadlings. The team
yeah.
is not called the Threadlings.
But the project is called Threadlings. The team is MT. So
Friday the 13th. Well, today is a crappy day for me. I will tell you the truth. So yeah,
yeah,
I found out today that my grandmother has a few days left to live. So it's a pretty bad day. So Tran's probably gonna do more of the talking today than I am.
yeah.
But yeah, uh, not to bum everybody out, but let's get going.
Okay, so this week I've had a bunch of normal problems actually. Um, so it's just basically stuff I've been using Unreal like for a bit, and I've never encountered this problem. But when we were looking at Shrog, let me see if I can pull up the video also. And the video is it's you guys have seen it. But it's the sequence I'm working on, and the sequence is that after they witness Zort being attacked by a moth, they run up to the professor to try to tell him what they just saw. Let's pull it over here. And here, like, there's some there's some strange issues with his face. Like he almost just doesn't look like himself when I see this. And then there's just textural problems, but like his face, there's something wrong with his expressions. And even here, like and I'm talking about Shrog, like he's smiling, but he's like angry frown. And I'm like, what is going on? Uh, and that turns out it's a normal problem. So I can't exactly replicate the problem in Maya, but if you took a look at the limbic, you could tell that the normals are locked like this. I mean, they shouldn't look like that. And what happens is like it's like having a bad normal map um, applied onto your character, like where the expression is frowning as a normal map, and it doesn't change, and it overrides like any other expression. So he had this like locked, and this looks correct because he is actually frowning, but when he's not doing that, he's still frowning, and so you have this mixture of this really messed up expression, and then all this like weird shading right here is an indication, like on the head. If I come in and I unlock it, I go, okay, it's no longer dark. Let's soften the edges. It should be good. No, it's still not good. So when it comes into Unreal, I've been getting this problem where, and it really drove me crazy because I didn't know what the problem was. But it would import, and this is a really long Alembic, so it's like 1,000 frames. It's a little more than 1,000 frames, and it takes a long time to import. So I'd just be waiting to try to import it, and it would just be messed up. Um, I did figure out what the problem is. For whatever reason, the normals on this mesh is like messed up, and I can't seem to correct it inside of Maya, no matter what I do. What you can do is you can correct it in Unreal. And I mean, it didn't take me all the time to do it, but it still was kind of a waste of time, like not something that I wanted to do. But what you can do is when you drop it in, if your normals are super messed up, you can recompute them and put it in one smoothing group. And I'll show you like that setting here. I'll drop it in here where there's nothing, so nothing gets overridden. And this is a much smaller file. I'll bring in a geometry cache, the settings, skip empty frame. And if your normals are messed up, force one smoothing group per object and then recompute the normals. I'll find materials. And then this should be 90 degrees rotation. But this right here is force one smoothing group per object, recompute normals, uncheck, ignore degenerate triangles. That actually recalculates the normals and it gives your characters normals again. So basically it just did not have normals according to Unreal. You'll know if you need to do this because after you import Alembic, you'll get a message saying no, basically you don't have normals. So that fixed the problem finally. And so now I have like the sequence, which is the first shot. And I didn't get to light as much as I wanted to because I was doing cloth sim. So if you look at Mayo, you can see he's got full proper cloth. He's got hair now. And he's got his newer textures. And then Shrog also has his cloth sim. And that took quite a bit of work to get Shrog's cloth sim because his head is big.
He's got
So
a big old head.
so these characters have big old heads, right? So like, yeah, it's cool design wise, but when he like, it's just such a pain in the butt. So when he turns his head, it actually like his chin here goes into like his body, right here, and Marvelous can't handle that. It can't handle like this collision of mesh. It like makes the clothing just like lose its mind. And it makes sense why, because you're saying that mesh is interpenetrating, so where's the clothing supposed to go in that spot when you do have like that mesh come in, and it will just like wiggle out the rest of the way. So when you have like collision, Marvelous will try to keep going, but what it will do is like it will just shake the entire time, which is not an acceptable performance because you don't want like wiggly cloth, like just shimmering, like all noisy for no reason. So I had to sim it. Let me pull up the sim. Kind of loading like a bit too many files. Let's minimize that. What I like about Unreal is it's it's like the biggest beast of program that I'm running in terms of like, all the programs we're using. It is the
The
most,
resource hog. It just
yeah, it is a rehorse hog because it should be.
resource.
Yeah,
Rehorse.
rehorse, sorry. Um, that's what it is, but at the same time, it is like really efficient. So when you minimize the program like this, it actually like stops my computer from running so heavily. Like I can hear, I run Unreal, I can hear my computer really loud. It sounds like an engine, but just it's smart enough to know once you minimize it, just reduce the resources. Whereas I don't see that in other programs. And it's like really robust. Okay. So, oh, the cloth sim. Hold on. So this version of Marvelous, when I save, it doesn't save the Alembic file. It just saves the cloth sim. Let's give it a second. Okay, so this is how I had to do it. Well, actually, this one had the head, and I basically have to do one headless. Let's bring it. I brought in the wrong one. Give it a second. It's a big file, so this whole simulation was very just time consuming. And there's nothing you can do. You just have to try to figure out what to do if your character has a head that's too big. It also had to go through some shot modeling, just like clean up around the neck and the eyes. And it wasn't so bad, but it's more than 1,000 frames, which kind of makes it just kind of crappy by nature. So this is one cloth sim. So I did one with just his hat and his neck. For whatever reason, well, I kind of know why. This mesh, so when it hits this collision, it's still able to bounce back and it recovers. Um, and the reason why this can actually handle this, so normally if get a collision like this, it will just like shake and shimmer all the way through. But this one's not doing it, and I think it's because the fabric property is full grain leather, and it's such a robust like fabric property, and that's why it can hold this weird shape. Like if you notice, it stays in this form, so it's not a soft cloth, so it's okay.
We have really strong Dell computers that they provided us.
Yeah, we have very good machines.
Yeah, A6000s and more RAM than God.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have we just have we have to invest in like better equipment, so that's what we do.
Well, we didn't have to invest in that at all. Dell gave us this.
Yes, you're right. But in general, you're right. That was a machine that we cannot ever afford. um, but in other terms, like we do, like it is important for us, like to spend money on the things that we're using to produce work. Okay, so here, this is the version where his neck turns right here. So I just cut his head off, and it still collides a little bit right here, but that collar was going to cover. But because it collides, so just so you can see, okay, so the mesh of the neck is hitting that cloth. And this cloth is not, it's a softer cloth. I don't want it to be leather because I don't want it to look like a saddle. But you can see how it doesn't like it. And once it hits that collision, it has trouble and it will shimmer. But I kept this one because it wasn't so bad. So the other one where I did the whole body, like the whole chest was like just shaking around. And so it was just not a completely unacceptable sim. And then just ran it all the way through. Other than that, like his clothing sims pretty well, because he doesn't have pants, right? So some of these other guys have like pants. He has this jacket. Let's hide this. And then these buttons that pin the jacket. And then this is like a dress. It's like a weird dress that we got from him. So he's got a little belly, right? And then we just let it hook this little skirt hook under. And this skirt is like inspired by like some Japanese outfit I saw. I don't know exactly what the robe is called, but it's for men and it looks it just look, remind me of Star Wars kind of. This whole thing is kind of, this outfit's sort of inspired by by it, but just not quite.
There's no way to not be inspired by Star Wars in our house because
Yeah.
our
So
house is an altar to the original 3 movies.
yeah. So the good thing is like his pants don't fall down. So and what that means is like just to back up, like Mayo has pants. And if he was simming for 1,000 frames, I'm pretty sure his pants would fall down at some point. They would just end up on the ground. And then he would just end up pantsless. The clothing can only last like endure for so long before it just like rips off of them. So that's the thing that's trickier with longer cloth simulations like this is that you just end up with problems. And there's nothing wrong with the program. It's amazing. It's just you're just asking it to do a lot. Um, and so it's just trickier. So I spent a long time just trying to correct this. Closes. Let's jump back into Unreal. So this is what the shot looks like. Ka is not done. I need to bring him in and make sure that I have the correct performance. So like when I get these handed these files, they're, I don't know what they are. So there's time spent for me to like figure out who is what character, what do I re-import, what do I fix, and what's not final yet. And I just know that by asking Miguel. So we work kind of simple like that. But right now I'm pretty happy with how Cod's not done. His neck is like, you see how weird that when he turns, like the cloth tearing looks terrible.
Oh yeah, his cot's not.
Yeah,
He's not rigged.
he's
He's not simmed.
no, he's not ready yet. I was really worried about this guy.
Cot really falls apart cloth wise when he's not simmed.
Yeah, because he's got like these flappy things on his neck.
Yeah.
Um,
It always looks like his neck is broken.
yeah, but at least Shrog is good, and he was looking really bad. So I was just like, oh man. There's lots of times like that where you just like, did I make this character? Why does he look so terrible? And especially with Shrog with his messed up normals. So this is a close up that I've been working on, and this one's a weird shot because it's actually one
It's two
sequence
shots, yeah.
with two shots.
So the
And
camera does a crazy spin, yeah.
yeah, and this is like his first one, but he's starting to look pretty good now. But he went through a lot. So his eyes, I reworked his eyes. Um, like just small things. I don't know if I can pull up a pen. It might crash. So it's like not just texturing. I'm also rebuilding shaders and so that I can have more control. But so that's his iris, or sorry, his pupil. And then this region here is the iris, right? For me, the iris was really dark and it could have been fine, but it felt like the transition between the iris and the sclera, which is this white section, was really sharp. And it made his eyes like have a feeling that was weird. So I lightened the iris and I blurred the edges of it. And it just feels like it integrates more into sclera. I don't mind the big iris. I think it kind of keeps him cute. Shrog has extremely complex eyes. So he also has, just to show the shader, I don't know, Kot doesn't have this. He doesn't, I haven't made it yet.
Raphael's asking to see the topology. Let me just show it real quick. Because I have it here.
Yeah. Topology and Shrog is better. So,
You can see it's pretty simple. So you can see Mayo has a little peepee. It's all rigged and everything. There's actually a rig on his little peepee. It's so funny.
yeah, so his yeah. There's the things that happen with Mayo that are really funny in the claw simulation. I don't know if you have that sequence, but
I just want to see.
so Mayo falls up to the ceiling a lot, and when he falls up to the ceiling,
Look at the little controls.
his pants falls down for a little bit, and like he gets his
Funny.
butt comes down. It's actually really cute.
He's so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that's it.
But
He's gonna be wearing clothes there, but there may be a scene where his pants accidentally fall off because they're being pulled by a bad guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, gotta have the face on Kana. Yeah, there's a controller for that, so you could technically. I actually have never played around with. Yeah, but you can see he has he has all the controls for for the whole thing. Yeah.
Everyone's interested.
Right.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everyone is asking about the rigs.
uh,
I've never moved that, just so you know. This is the first time.
well,
Yeah,
it was
so
part of the
funny.
story where like his parent like and we weren't really even trying to be funny. It was just like he gets potentially caught by Zord. He has to get away. Um, and you don't want just your character just to get away for without anything. So
So I could explain it. So the idea is that when they're running to go tell the professor. They're trying to run from Zort for their lives, and they've been trying to convince everyone that Zort is up to no good, that he's not who he claims to be. You guys have seen that sequence already where he's like possessed by the larva. So the professor doesn't believe him, and then when they get into this big fight with him, they're getting their asses whooped, and Zort grabs onto Mayo, rips his pants off, and they go running, screaming down the hall. The professor comes out super pissed off. What the hell is going on? They start saying all this crazy nonsense, and then you realize that Mayo's pants are completely missing. So they just look like they're completely insane and they've just lost their mind. And then Zort walks in after we saw that he looks like a demon, but he looks completely normal. And he looks like the rational one, and they're like the crazy ones that are running around the halls naked. So that was the idea with it. We might blur it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe probably not, because we're not showing it in any kind of sexualized way. It really is just in an innocent way.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a way of putting it. Yeah, that is the details. So yeah. Anyway, Trent, you keep talking. Sorry about that.
It's
I
okay.
just wanted to show the wireframe.
I think that's good. Everyone was very fascinated.
Yeah.
Where was I? Oh, Shrug's eyes. Okay, so this is his eyes. And he also has this map, um, an emissive map here, where it's actually like an HDR that I projected onto the eye so that the reflection feels real. And that's like that spot right here. Um, so there's like fake things just so their eyes feel alive. Like without it, his eye looks really dead. And then the specular or the reflections that are hitting it, they're just not getting the pupil. And he actually looks really terrifying like that without the eye highlight. So for me, like on characters, eye highlights are really critical. And you can see now, I mean, he's not very happy, but he doesn't have dead eyes, right? So it just brings it back. And then other things I were doing was just creating custom mask to allow me to like give a bit more control. There's also other issues that I realize like these textures that I do in Unreal don't the normals like I basically had like so many normal problems on this character, but the normals don't translate. Um, so here, just as an issue, and this is what takes so much time. There's like a seam on my character right here on the face of the UVs, and this was displaying correctly where it's pushed in, and then this one all of a sudden would like push out when it should be pushing in, and it's actually doing it right here. So if you look at the eyes, the brow, this is actually like sharp and coming out. And I could leave it like that, but I don't really like that. I also retextured the face and changed the cloth pattern because he just didn't really look like cloth. So there's things that I also need to do here. So right here, the material has it's just not responding. There we are. The material has Fresnel. So you can actually see like the lip highlight. So there's like a light lining. There's also a light lining around here, which I don't really like for that area to pick up more light. And it also does it around the eyeballs. And again, that's from Fresnel. So I'll just show you what that Fresnel does. So here, I'll just bump it up really high. Right, this is, the edges are slowly lighter. Not this light, but just so you can see. And that type of shading makes it feel more like fabric when you just give it a little bit for now. But, and it works well, but it has like, you know, certain things. There's also like the power. So let's say I overcrank this. In the shader, I also created the fall off. So I can control how much it blends. Right. And there's also a contrast to the fall off. So I can decrease the contrast of this fall off. So it's kind of neat. Let's undo that because this looks busted. There we are. Now what I want to do, because it's cool, but I want to fix that up, is I just have to create mask. Oops. There we are. Maybe more like this. I don't know, I can noodle like the shading for a bit too long. But let's close this. And also if you want to see Shrog's topology, his face is, topology is very good. So it's like super dense and detailed. And there's no normal map on this. So all this stuff is Shraga's work on the facial expression stuff. He's really amazing at it. So here, what I want to do here is I want to fix my normals. And I also want to create the Fresnel map because the lips are lightening up. So the problem I have with Unreal is that some of the stuff that should be facing a certain direction in the textures are not. So just like this one here, it should be pushed in, but it's just not doing it. So I've just been manually, and it's not like consistent across. So the issue is that it's just some parts in certain UV maps, and it's pretty annoying. Okay. So I'll have something like this that's actually creating it. I want to duplicate it. And then I will only allow this one to affect the color. And I'll move this down here. And this one will just affect height. And I'll just reverse it and just wait for this to upload. Or just a refresh. And I always forget how slow this is when I'm streaming this. But you can see like the file is big. Everything is like slow. And you just have to be patient. Okay, so I'll have that underneath. It looks a little bit too strong too. Let's do 2.5. That will help me correct it. And then what I'll do if I want custom mask is I'm going to come in here and create more user groups. So 0 and 1 and 2 already taken for other characters. So I'm going to create a user 3. And the user 3 is just an extra channel that I can use to just put whatever I want. I'll make it L16 for fun, I guess. And I'll create a new fill and we'll allow user 3 on it. And I'll call it user 3 for now mask. So I have like a bunch of like things like AO, user stuff. These are all just like extra data that I wanted to spit out. And it depends what I want. So user 2, I tried putting a norm map here. This wasn't very successful. I might just delete it. But here's user 3. And again, it's slow. Just give it a second. But you're seeing, or like, this is how long it takes. So changes are getting slower and slower. And I think it's slower because I have Unreal open. So what I do in this case, I'm just going to close it. If it lets me. Yeah, let's just save. Here we are. And then hopefully this refreshes because it shouldn't take that long to give me one thing. But I'm also streaming. Okay, here's your question. Do you find yourself trying to optimize your files or just deal with the slowdown? There's not a lot to optimize. It's just I do try to like delete stuff, but I end up creating more things and making a bigger mess because I end up doing things like this. Like if you take a look at my ambient occlusion channel, so this is the AO. I need to re-export this. Oh, it's like not dark here. I have to fix this. Let me just fix that. It's probably in here. So I basically end up, this stuff is just becomes time consuming. Give me 1 second. I think this was white. There it is. So I have to have an AO map, and whatever the AO map looks like, by default, it's just not working out. And I just caught this problem here. So this goes into the material, and the basic paint wasn't good. There was too much shadow here. So I had to clean that out. And so I just ended up with a bunch of AO pass, right? And this doesn't read into the main material and substance. So I can't actually clean my file. I just make it worse. If that's like the long answer. What I'll do here is I can't see where I'm painting. Is I'll show the wireframe. We'll use user 3. We'll make this dark. And call this user 3 for now paint. There's not much to be really done. I really push the, I think I really push what this thing can do, like to the max performance. Let's turn on mirroring and I'll paint these edges. And the mesh should be perfectly symmetrical, but it doesn't paint mirrored perfect. So it has issues. And again, this is a mask to help prevent the mouth glowing. But it's all these little things. So you can see like why it takes a bit. And then once I finish these corrections on the character, I can just finish lighting. But I'm not done completely because it's not done. So I need to like look at him and see like what corrections he needs. And in terms of corrections, it could be anything like his head's too big, and so it goes into his shoulder, and I can't sim that. Or that one facial performance is kind of weird, and I'm not really liking that. Let's also paint it out here. So this area is kind of hard to paint because you'll paint over areas you don't mean to. So I need to take it into here. And then I have to change my brush to UV mode, so it kind of understands what I'm trying to do. And I'll just paint this. And this doesn't mirror well in here. And let's paint that. Okay, so he looks a little funny. That's okay. Let's paint the mouth. Let's go back to wrap. So in wrap view, when you paint it in wrap, it's actually painting 3D, which means it doesn't care about, it just paints over any seams because it's just, you know, doing what you want it to do, which is painting 3D. But when you paint in 2D view, you don't want to do that. And let's erase some of the stuff. And let's clean some of this up. It's fine. Let's do this 3D view. Okay, so that's probably the eyeballs or something like that. He looks really weird. Let's blend this out. So I want to blur this. And when I blur it, it messes up the seam normally. So let's see how it handles the seams. That's fine. And I'll just do another paint to clean it up. I'm kind of lazy. I can try this. So I'm going to use the path tool, and I'll have mirroring on. Path tool will be black. Hardness is 0. I'm going to try and find a brush that has like good fall off. I don't know if I can find one. We'll put a basic soft. And I could try a different alpha shape. I'm just going to turn off Grammarly because I don't need that. Okay, these are not really sharp. They're like all patterns. Let's just try this. And I want to paint not white, but black. And I'm just doing this because that's where the seam is. And it's too large. And it just kind of gives me a clean line and if I want to move it around, I can. So it's just a curve with a brush on it. that's soft. This one needs it too. It's just right on the seam. I mean, I guess I could just paint it by hand, but I really like this path tool for a lot of stuff. For drawing clean mask. For stitching, it's pretty amazing. It works well when it mirrors over. So it does a great job of that. This one I could expand a little bit more. And maybe this one, I'll make it a little lighter. I just want like a fall off. I wish there was a better brush somewhere. Let's set this to 85. Maybe blur it even higher. It seems super noodly. Okay, and I'll do one around the eye. I realize like whenever I do these streams, I'm like, man, I do like really tedious stuff. That it's not very exciting. Okay, I can't get back to the head. It's also hard to get inside the mesh inside of substance. So Miguel is playing some stuff.
Yeah, let me just find something.
Not meant for the. No!
Okay.
No! We got to do something. Here.
Okay, weird clown face.
We got
Good.
something.
Let me save this. Oh man, this is gonna take a second to save.
No! We got to do something.
Here's a question. Sorry again if you said it. How are the masks helping with the light leaks? So it's not really light leaks. What it is like it's a Fresnel where it makes the edges look lighter in the shader so that it feels like cloth. And what it also does, because the edges, right, the edges are literally, these are edges on the actual form. It just makes it glow bright. And the mask that I have set up in my material blocks it. So it prevents that shader from applying that light effect wherever I paint this dark, which I think is good. So I'm going to apply it here. I'll call this nose. And this is path line. This will be path nose. This has to make sense to me later. Sometimes when I do work while I'm streaming, I go back and I'm like, why did I do that.
Professor's got some fine makeup.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Let's see.
Yeah, the voices are gonna be playing in the background. I'm sorry, but I gotta export some of this stuff out. Let me share my like a mini screen in the background.
So I want to block some for now on the nose too, because not sure I like it.
Wait, that's not what I wanted. This.
So this would just reduce it to be a little bit less.
Wait, what the hell?
Okay, spread this out. What are you showing?
I'm trying to make my screen small, but it does not. Can you make your screen big? It's just weird.
Like that?
Yeah, but you see, then mine doesn't.
How I don't know how you get it to work. You've been doing it all this time. I've never.
Yeah, I've never had an issue with it. All of a sudden,
Oh, it's working now.
no, it's not because I want yours to be the big one.
Oh, I see.
It's okay. There you go. There's Trent.
Okay, so he's good. Let's save.
Ruben says he's in Japan.
Sounds like so much fun. I don't know if you're. Is it your first time in Japan? Or like you've been there before? I've never been there. I would love to go. Okay. I have to adjust my template. So I created a new user channel. At this point, all my characters have custom export. Initially, when I started, they're all we're using COT, and every character has so much specific junk to deal with that they all have their own. So I'm going to create a new grayscale one. So I just press gray, and it's grayscale because this is gray, and this is user 3, as I named it here, so I know. I'll just drag user 3 to connect it to gray channel. This way, I can export it, and this will be called Professor Body for now mask. Okay, so now I can actually export that channel now that it's connected here. Let's just double check. And then you can see all the available channels. So this thing is working in Substance is pretty amazing, but it's also kind of crappy. If you take a look, my professor actually has 3 bodies and you just see his head. So I had to split his one mesh, but in Substance, it can't texture too many unims. So I split them into 3 different parts, and it just is really annoying. I want them all in one shader, but they all have like different names. This is Professor 1, 2, and 3. And when it exports by default with different names. So I was manually renaming it. It was annoying. So what I did is I just created these extra additional ones. That's why there's so many. And these are only meant to export professor with specific name without overriding each other. It's it's like overcomplicated, I would say. Let's just export this one here.
Let me play something real quick.
Yeah.
No. No. We got. We got to do something.
I'm just trying to line up the dialogue here to send to the animators.
No. No.
Okay. So I had some errors exporting. And I'm just double checking if it exported at all.
Where is my transition? There it is.
No.
Hold on.
They can't see your screen anymore.
Oh, they can't?
No, but I'll put it. I just don't want to annoy everyone with sound, and then they don't know where it's coming from.
No.
Okay. I've exported my things. Let me save. And I need to re-export the normal, which is super fun
No.
because it's not fun.
No.
Let's look at my normal map.
We got to do something.
Okay, so the thing that sucks with
We got to do something.
I gotta talk over this annoying thing, but
Go for it.
the thing that sucks with extracting the normal is so if you look at this here, I have the normal of the cloth pattern, and then I also have this bigger normal cuts. I end up wanting to separate it, but it's very difficult to separate because I'm working in a layer mode. So this is where like I wish Substance was a graph because this is why it's such a mess because I need special passes. And it's just all being stacked up into here, which really sucks. I need to, I have to manually do it. I haven't gotten it to work successfully just because of the way all this works out. So it's really, it's super annoying is the only way I can describe it. It's just really annoying that I have to do it manually. And I don't really have a good solution. So I'm just manually exporting and separating them. In my shader, I have 2 slots for normal maps that allow me to drive the control. You really don't want to combine the fine detail with the big form details. You want to be able to dial the strength of them individually. So I'm just waiting for this to update. And of course, it all moves slower on the stream. Here it is. And I'm kind of wondering if some of these here are displaying correctly, like the cracks on his head. They look like they're reverse. So I have like weird reverse normals, but not everywhere. So it's like in specific parts. So I'm just trying to pinpoint it, but it's pretty annoying. Okay. And this is the one that I want. Oh, I see. This one doesn't work. Here we are. I think this is good. Just hope. Let's export this. I just need the head. And this is the form one. So let's export just that. And it's all going to the same directory automatically. And it should be overriding. And I always just check to make sure the date. Okay, so it's changing this time. That means it's good. And then now I need to do the cloth one again. So again, this is how I'm doing it, just manually turning them on and off, which is not what I like. I just want to be able to hit export, but I can't split this apart. And I really wish this was a node graph because you could just control what you need to import, export more easily, and you make less of a mess. I don't think they will ever really turn this into a node graph though. It's really popular the way this is, and a lot of people like the layered interface.
Do they?
Well, it's less. I think if you're a CG artist, you like the node graph. Like if you're specializing in it as your career. But I think that if you're more like just dabbling,
Well, if you're an Adobe person, you love your layers.
yeah. So that's I just don't think that they would ever do that because of their user base. But it would be super powerful if they did. So this is cloth. Do I have a specific way? Yeah, I normally try to do all the height stuff first, but I couldn't here. Meaning like anything that affects height, generally I try to tackle that. It usually gives me like cleaner mask and stuff like that. Okay, let's save. And I'll start launching. Other thing is Substance takes a long time to like close and save. And I don't want to launch yet until I start closing. How about grouping layers like in Photoshop? It doesn't really help so much. It's more like I just want to separate passes. Like I have this all combined and I want to separate it cleanly into user groups. The reason why it's so complicated is because some of my height actually comes from my height channel. So my normal channel that we use is normal plus height plus mesh, right? So it gets baked down together. And so it's hard for me to recreate that separate channels and split it because I don't have this automatic transfer like where it's doing it for me. Yeah, this helps a lot. But again, it's the norm map that's very difficult because your height information gets converted to normal. And when I split these apart, I don't get that automatic thing that's happening underneath. In a program like Mari, you have like complete control. And so it's easier to do those things, but everything looks crappy in Mari. And everything looks really beautiful in Substance. Right, so that's starting to close. Let's see if I can do those changes. And the other thing that's again that's kind of annoying is some of my heights are like inverted, but not everywhere. just in like parts. We'll just look at Shark while that's loading up. But this guy has been a pain for various reasons. Just broken. I'm sure Cot is gonna have problems too because he has like the biggest head. Let's load up this map. Give it a second. Okay, so he's pretty sharp here. And we're seeing the lip. So I'm gonna load up his material. I'll import the new for now. So we'll do that first. Okay, and we'll save it. And I already have the slot. So anywhere that's black will be no for now. Okay, so now the mouth is actually darker. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I can. Like just that white line is weird. It's gone. And he doesn't have the glow around his eyes. This here, I just re-imported. So I should be able to, well, I didn't re-import it. I just export over it. I should be just able to re-import because I replaced the original. Give it that a second. Okay. The brows are gone. That's good. Let's re-import this cloth. Okay. He still has this like little crease right here. It's updating. But he looks better to me now. So now I think I'm happy. What do you think, Miguel?
Let me see.
Does he look good? He gets a little bit soft.
He gets a little bit soft, but that's the focus.
Yeah, that's the focus. I said like he's in and out of focus here. Focus on this shot is very weird. Like I know that he performs up to this point. Like he says, Zort, that's impossible. And then it cuts around here.
Yeah, he doesn't turn.
Okay. He doesn't do this. I love this facial expression. I don't see this in your sequence.
Yeah.
So
Play the whole sequence.
this is really annoying. The scrubs in beneath my bar.
The eye line there is an old one.
I should probably have. I don't think I can play audio.
You could play audio.
I can. I know you can in yours.
Or maybe you can't. You're right.
Yeah, it doesn't play.
I hear something.
Yeah, it's my headphones, my other ones. So that's the shot that I'm working on there. There's two close-ups right here. So this is the first time we see his head turn. The shot starts here where his head is turning. He does some like really cool facial work. And then this is what I'm working on right now when the camera shifts.
Show that. Go back to yours.
Okay, so here's the first one. He does this.
I do wish he had little hairs on his face there.
I mean, I can make them. Maybe that's what I would do. So I like this expression. We catch the tail end, but I love what he's doing with his face here. He looks cute to me. He turns
Yes.
away. That's the first shot. Camera shifts, and he's doing this. That's him. This is it. The beginning of the second one is around here. Do you agree though? Like this facial, it looks really cool, but we don't get it. And then this is the second shot. You know what? Let's do the hair. I don't know if I want it light. So I'm going to set my project and just do hair and see how it looks today with the time I have left. I just create a new folder. I'm doing it on my other monitor. Let's set the project. Okay. And then I'm going to open a different scene with just Shrog standing straight like this. And I don't want to put hair here. I'll put this here just so I have placeholder. And I'm going to save this. Call it Shrog Fuzz. Okay. Let's make sure this is correct. When I set projects in Maya, it doesn't always set. And I'll just delete every history. And I'll need to do a few things. So his UVs are a lot. I'm going to grow the hair directly on the mesh. That's like the only choice I have. I don't have a hair cap, and we're not going to go back to rigging for that. We normally don't use hair cap stuff because it's just like an extra mesh to deal with, and we're too small. But what I'm going to do is create multiple UV sets. So I have one that stores UDIM and one for XGen. Map 1's my default. I'll copy these UVs. Okay, so now if I look at my sets, 1, 2, and 3 all have the same. The XGen one will only carry what I need for XGen. And I do need like mask painting. So areas that are not that important. Let's see what's important. So the head's like really important to me. And these are not. So I'll shrink these small. And what's not important here is probably the mouth socket and the eye socket. I don't need hair in these. So these will also be smaller. And it pays off to do this right. How about the back of the head? So definitely this. And let's just kind of combine these together. Let's rotate these. Well, every time I'm on the stream, I realize how tedious the stuff I do is. I'm like, I do a lot of tedious stuff. It's not very exciting. Okay. So these are my areas that don't matter. These matter. So I'm going to try to scale them to fit in the first UDIM. So the reason, what's happening is that Action can only paint in the first UDIM in Maya. It's not even Action. It's just Maya. Maya's really old, and you can't paint basic maps across multiple UDIMs. And so all this is a workaround for that, which is frustrating and it's time consuming. We need to see how painful the process is. Yeah. These are the things like yesterday when I was teaching in class, say, if you're new, you might not know that I teach at Gnomon. When I was teaching, I
That's
had
funny.
a ton of X-Gen questions from the students, because it was like stuff was like breaking for them and they just don't know how to fix it, or like how do you figure out how to work around it, and that's really hard. Okay, so these guys will shrink even more because they'll be pure black. These will go even more. I don't want to make like dots out of these. I might regret it later. And we'll Tetris these here. Okay, let's pull these here. And Tetris this here. Okay, we'll move this over first UDIM because Maya can only paint one UDIM. Now, I have my action, my original ones, which is important for the character, and map one's default. Now that I'm working in action, I'm going to copy this to map one. This way that it's always reading map one, but I always have these as backup that I can swap around. And I'm just going to delete the history. I like to delete the history before I apply anything onto it. And let's save. And I'm going to save it twice as a second version. So this is, now I'm going to put action on it. Do I want to put it everywhere? That's the first thing I have to think about. No, because I don't want to paint mask everywhere. I'm going to apply it to basically the UDIMs that I think could use it. And I'm still going to have to paint mask, but this will reduce the amount that I have to paint. Okay. So I'm going to go to the action window, create description. I'll just call it fuzz. Under collection, that's fine. And we're going to place in shape guides. So it's going to be driven by hair guides. That is much more stable. So you also can use groomable splines, which is actually like really unstable. It's a different mode for action. And I'm going to place the guides with this button, this plus button. And I'm going to do it one side. So the character is
symmetrical with the exception of the arm. It's not a big deal because we're not putting on the arm, which makes life much easier because I only have to place it on one side. I'm not going to put any hair on here. I just want this here as a placeholder. And I'm just going to place some guides. How fuzzy you think he is? Miguel?
Just little fibers. You don't want them to look like a chia pet.
Sorry, guys. I got like allergies. Okay, so I'll place my first guide. I rotated it when I bake the guides. So anytime you use Maya manipulators to rotate your hair, you have to bake it out. It's equivalent to freeze transformation. And I just want to make my first one kind of not stick straight out. So bad peach fuzz usually results from it sticking straight out. I also don't mind that it's a little bit longer because I can create a cut modifier. It's harder to make them longer after the fact. So this is a little long. And I'll just place a few more. Okay, so it doesn't know. These are just straight. That's okay. I don't know if I need this many. If I can do it with less, it's easier. So let's do it with less initially. Okay. Okay, so now I have like what I think is minimal. I'm gonna grab this one because I don't want to bend each one. And I'm gonna copy it and I'm gonna paste it. And I'm gonna rotate them as I go.
You gotta bless you from NetBug.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just have allergies. Let's rotate this. And I'll bake these later. But I can get fuzz pretty fast. Maybe it should go in this direction. I probably need more up here. Copy again, let's paste. Okay. Let's see. How do you export? Yeah, you'll actually see that. I should be able to get to that point. And I'll show you how I put it on the limbic. Which might be a bit. But I think I can do it by the end of the stream. Okay, let's bake this all out. Let's mirror this over. I hit the mirror button. Okay, cool. Okay, that's his hair direction. It looks not great right now, but it's okay. I can see the direction of the hair.
Um, I don't know how much he should have up here because there's a lot of collision, but definitely needs like some support here. So these are really long. So I'll make them shorter. So I also have to bake the guide versi because I'm using Maya keys. And then I have to paint mask around here. But this might be okay. Let's mirror these over. Let's bake again. Let's save. And I need some for the chin.
No fuzz on the dingle.
What is that someone asking?
Yeah,
That's funny.
we would never have a close-up shot of that.
No. It's supposed to be funny. When I was a kid, like I used to watch Japanese anime, like particularly Dragon Ball, the original one when Goku was a kid. And he never like he always had his it was supposed to be funny back then. But he would lose his pants a lot. Okay, let me do a quick groom on these guys. So normally straight is never good for hair, especially fuzz. It doesn't light well. It looks really weird. So I always want to make sure it has some curve to it. And this one, I just wanted to hug the form as the form bends. So it gives me the right fuzz. And this one is weird. And I don't have any on the ears. Let's mirror this. Let's bake. And let's save. Let's place them on the ears. So this one knows to be bent, which is good. Let's bake it. If you place them close enough, they can kind of work themselves out. So this one's kind of sort of figuring what it should do. Which is follow along what's kind of curved.
You know, when I see this, I still think to myself, how is it the concept art has been replaced entirely by AI, but you still can't mirror UVs in Maya? Can you imagine if I would have told you that 2 years ago, how absurd that would sound?
That they
That
would.
matte painters, concept artists would be replaced by AI, and you can't mirror UVs in Maya.
Yeah.
Or just in general that that replacing concept artists would happen sooner than
Yeah, like
the mirror UVs.
to me, like concept art was like,
The safest of all the bets, right?
yeah, because it was the most artistic. Whereas I always feel like being a CG artist, like on the 3D side in production, not on the conceptual side, was like more limiting. You're always trying to keep up with the tech. And so it always felt like, if you weren't up to date and constantly learning new things or adapting,
You could get replaced, and it's actually become the total opposite. Like the production artist, it's the more stable thing. It's almost like that South Park episode, the one about the plumbers.
oh yeah. So that one's like, that's an episode that made me think. Most of the episodes make me think, but that one for sure.
It's an episode where in the future the plumbers are the rich people, the carpenters, the
because no one has like actual skills
no
to
one has actual skills. Like they all are like social media influencers, or they have marketing skills, which are really in the bigger scope of things completely useless skills. And then the plumbers and everything become the really, really, really rich people.
because no one knows how to do anything.
Yeah.
Like everyone's house is breaking down. No one's like bothered learning how to fix stuff.
They just know how to post about it on Instagram.
You know what's terrifying is a lot of their stuff kind of comes true. And so when I see stuff like that, I'm like, oh no, uh, is this what's gonna happen? So I'm always like, it's funny, but then I'm also concerned. Okay, let's bake this one out. Let's see how the flow. That flows all right. It doesn't know what to do inside. This is annoying. So it takes a little bit more when you know your hair has to conform to the form. But I can probably get this in a couple of things. I don't dislike this type of stuff. I dislike crashing and not knowing why something doesn't work because you just like go in circles. I think the thing I do dislike though is like cleaning up for simulation. So the process of like making sure the mesh is good for sim is like not enjoyable for me because you're just like cleaning. And when cleaning, you're not cleaning one mesh. You're it's shot modeling. You're cleaning the whole sequence, and it's really tedious. Some people like it. I just think everyone's different. But I do know like some friends like don't mind that at all. Okay, let's see how it's generating on inside. I think it's fine. We need back ears now. And then I'm gonna be ready. Okay, so I probably need this much at least. Let's copy this. Let's paste. Let's paste this one. Rotate this. And let's paste this one. Let's just bake these. Let's copy this one. Okay. Let's see. You're gonna put fuzz guys on the no. Miguel answered that. I didn't catch that. What workflow you like more, all digital thing or working real set real people? I think working a set with real people is not easy, and we don't, and it costs a lot of money. So like CG for us, this whole thing, like why we're using Unreal and why we jumped on it was because it was like a tool that gave us like freedom to tell a story, and it was you didn't have to render stuff. So for us, it's like the way we work, it comes down to just like what we can work with and like what we can make with it. But Miguel and I never thought we would do animation. But once Unreal came along, you're like, oh, I guess.
You know what it is?
Let's mirror this.
What do we like more, working with real people or animation? I think Tran and I are really ready to not move hairs.
Like this, literally.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the greatest metaphor for it, right? Like you're literally moving individual hairs. Like we're ready to have a team and not figure out why the rig's rotation isn't working or how to retarget skeletons. Like I think both of us are just like, okay, we're ready to
To not do this anymore.
not do that anymore. We love animation, we love live action stuff, but I just think we're ready for the next stage.
Yeah.
We love all of this stuff. Like
It's just,
even when we were saying the stuff about AI and all that stuff and that UV stuff, like all of that stuff, it's we're talking about this stuff as CG artists and concerns that we have, not ever talking down to the craft or the process of doing this. But yeah, I don't know. We're just ready to focus more on like the bigger picture side of it, like the storytelling, the writing, the production design, and not worry about the individual hairs or getting the blinks to blink uh, correctly.
yeah.
Yeah. So in that sense, we like the live action side of it because we don't have to worry about that. But there's a whole other annoying thing with the live action thing. Like there's this dread that every time we would shoot, where again, this is because it was so low budget, but where you knew you have this location for this many hours, and it's just like a ticking clock as you get on set, and you're just like, guys, everybody, please, let's all be adults today. Like everyone be the best they can be, right? And it's like this guy comes in 30 minutes late. This guy pushes this guy a little bit too hard. This guy does. Oh my god.
Yeah,
Oh
there's
my
a lot of
god.
stuff I don't miss about, um, I don't like about the set. How about
But
that?
again, all of that is because it's low budget, but it's just, oh my god, the stress of a live action shoot is brutal. The thing about it though is that it's brutal for
A shorter period
a
of
shorter
time.
period of time, whereas this is like just brutal for the entire process. So
Well, you're not dealing with, I mean, you're still dealing with people, but you're not dealing people on the day. So the stressful thing is like when you don't have a lot of money, um, you just kind of get what you get, and you're trying to manage people. And people, like if someone like is not feeling well, you just don't get your shot or something like that. Or someone's
it's more than that. It's just like you're managing people, you're managing the carpenter across the street that's hammering. There's all of a sudden some freaking kid bought a drum set 2 blocks away while you're recording audio. The neighbors listening to loud music while you're trying to record.
and they don't care.
It is just so much
Yeah,
freaking nightmares.
they just look at you like, I don't care. I'm enjoying my day.
Yeah.
And if you ask someone to turn their music down, most likely they,
In LA, everybody's jaded. No one cares that you're working on your movie. If you were to do this anywhere else, I think everyone would be so excited. Here, everyone is just jaded.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a, it's super stressful. Like you have to get everything to work. Like you realize also why like sets like um productions with a lot of money, when if they're shooting outside, they, someone might make sure that a plane can't fly over, or that's a zone that planes don't fly over, because that produces a lot of noise. There's like so much in sound and noise and just random crowds.
No, and if you have money, then you could do ADR. You could re-record the audio. But if you don't have money, you're like, we better get the audio today, I remember when we shot in downtown, it was like the most disastrous shoot ever on the Ningyo project. We got Olivera Street. We got all the permits. We had to pay like an off-duty cop. Off-duty cops charge an arm and a leg, so it was so freaking expensive to get an off-duty cop.
Yeah.
And all the off-duty cop had to do is you could have done it with with 2 cones, right? But no, it had to be a cop. So just to block a street. They didn't do anything besides being a human cone.
And he
So
didn't like stop people from entering the set or
no,
nothing.
he was useless.
He just didn't care. And then we had people intrude on the set.
Yeah.
And when they were intrude, they not only walk across your shot, like just random people, and you would tell them like, you know, this is closed. We rented this area, and they would start arguing with you like, I have the right to be here. All kinds of things. You're like, no, actually, you don't. We have legal permits that you can't be here.
And then there was like like some drum circle right next door. All the audio went to hell. One of the actors was supposed to push another actor. He pushed him too hard. He fell down and hit his head. Starts bleeding. We have to rush him to the hospital. Then that guy was one of the main characters for that scene. So now we have to replace him with somebody, but who? We only have that location for that one day. Oh my God, we have to get one of the extras to replace him. That guy doesn't know how to act very well. It's a
He's
disaster.
just not an
Everything goes
actor
to
at all.
hell.
Yeah.
We basically lost that entire day, all that money, thousands of dollars just went to hell. We didn't use a single shot from that.
No.
So that stuff, I do not miss that at all. Like the anxiety levels that I would get from those shoots were just astronomical.
Yeah. My anxiety was intense also. I would just dread it. So when you said that question, I was like, well,
But again, that's one day. Had we got everything that day, it would have been much faster than the amount of time it would have taken to do all that with CG. But yeah,
yeah, but still, it's
they each have their challenges, but definitely one is not easier than the other.
no, it's just one for an actual shoot. You have to why is this not painting black? For an actual shoot, you have to have a lot of money. Like there's just no
Well,
way to get around it. You need money. Like right there to spend. Whereas in CG, the reason why we do so much CG is that it's your time. You know?
well, but again, it was because we were biting off too big. Like on the Ningyo, we were trying to do this period thing. I think if we would have done like a modern day thing, um,
Yeah, we're stupid.
a modern day thing
So-
in a house or whatever, it wouldn't have been such a pain in the ass. But it's like, okay, we need to shoot outdoors. It has to be in the oldest street in Los Angeles. We need to close the street down. We need to have everybody in 100-year-old clothing. Just we're just dumb like that. Now, this is not for the Threadlings. This was for
This was for our live action one.
yeah.
So there's a lot of things I like about just working on a computer, but it takes longer, right? Like that's a downside.
I would be totally fine doing just animation. Like I said, if we just had our team, if we had a team, um,
And we just had more people.
yeah, or a company.
Okay, I'm waiting for these eyelashes or like this fuzz around the eye to go away. It is not painting out. Let's save. Let's paint it again. it's probably because I have to paint 100% black. I don't know. This is really annoying. But I really want that gone because I know that's going to create problems. You can see how bad it paints too. It's like super pixelated. It's just junky Maya paint.
It's poly painting. That's what it is. It's painting the faces
Well, it's just really low res.
because it's painting every face.
No, it's just this 1K because it's all.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's like less than 1K. It's like really because it can only paint in one unit.
Yeah, I see.
Okay, so I still have like hair fuzz up here. So what I can do here is just make these shorter and just let the hair, and I'll grab these guys too and just make sure I'm not scaling anything else down. Okay, I think that might be all right. Maybe we won't see more. Okay, but now I have the fuzz on his head. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it again as a backup. And then what I'm going to do is go to my folder. Just so you know, when you use Action, it spits out this file, and this doesn't get backed up. So I'm just going to copy and paste it. And that's all my Action information. So if it bombs, I'll at least have that. So I always copy the folder. So now I have this. And what I'm going to do is I want to bring it in as hair. And I should be able to do this quickly, but we'll see. I have to convert this to interactive groom. Just hit convert. It's going to give me a second hair groom. I'm going to hide my original one up here, and I'm just going to look at it. So normally, sometimes it has like some issues. These hairs in IGS, which is interactive grooming, which is like another mode. Let's jump over here. They are never as smooth when they convert over. They always have less points. So I'm just going to rebuild this with 12 points. And I mean by literal points on the hair. They just always are more faceted. I don't want too many points. So the more points that you have in your hair, the slower it's going to run. So what I did, I just built it up. Let's try doing it at 14. So it's smoother. And I'll bring it back down to 10. Let's do it at 11, 14 again. It just does a better job than the like instant conversion. Okay, so now I have that. I'm going to save this. I'm going to call this IGS convert. And I can't export this yet. So I need to do a few things. I need to bring in and this is where it sucks. I don't have a better answer. And Unreal doesn't have a better answer. Because we actually talked to them about this. And they were just like, yeah, that's how it is. They're like, okay. I'm going to bring in the first frame of my alembic. Okay. Let's get out of, where was I? Just general. Yeah. And my first frame on my alembic is 70. And my character is like out in space somewhere here. Okay. I want to blend shape it to this right here. So this character is the one that has the hair. I'm going to hide the hair. So I'll blend source the target as a shape. And he's going to fly over there. He's really far in space. And so this is now the mesh. And they're right on top of each other. And again, it's just running with this blend shape. And it's just popping over because it's going over a long distance. I also don't need these. And I'll delete the history. Delete by history on this one. And I'll hide it. Now my hair, when I show it, should be here. So now I have my fuzz here. And I can export this. I need to have the first frame of my hair line up with the first frame of my alembic that I want to attach to hair. And this is why I also want to keep it light and I want to keep the hair minimal because this gets really big. Now that I have it in position, it allows me to bind it to the alembic. It can't be in a different space. It has to be exactly on top of the alembic. So I'm going to go to cache, export cache. I already have the settings at current frame, just right final width. And I'll hit export, shrug, overall, groom, 70, so I know what frame it's on. Okay, so the file is not too big, which is great because it's just fuzz. But I have to do a few things. I'm going to jump out of the camera. And I'm just going to make this unlit because it's going to make my scene lighter and perform faster. Let's find where this is supposed to go into. Shrug, hallway, running to shot here. I like to put it in the same location. Dig up my path. This groom. Oh man, I also don't know my hair settings. And for whatever reason, all my stuff is, my settings have been resetting.
In Unreal.
Yeah. And the hair has like weird rotations. I just need to like somehow memorize this. Okay, so I'm gonna drop it in. Okay, so let's just double check because I don't want to redo this. My rotation, -90, 0, 180, that's correct. -1, 1, 1. Okay. And there's not too much else to do. Okay, so import it, double click. Let's see if it's correct. It's up. That's how I know it's correct. It would be rotated very strangely if it wasn't. I don't have a hair material assigned. I'm going to assign it here. Let's create a slot. And I'll borrow Mayo shader. I'll drop it into Professor. Copy here. And he will just start with Mayo's hair. Let's rename this. I call it Shrug Fuzz. And I created this slot by pressing this plus button. Just going to drop it in here.
Yes, each sim is cached for each animation. It's quite barbaric, actually.
It's super barbaric. Okay, so now I have my hair. And I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Here's my material.
You know, when we talked to the Unreal guys, I was like, I was a little bit kind of shocked. I felt like what I was asking was kind of rational. Where I'm like, wait a minute, shouldn't this be simplified? Like the way you could just apply a texture to the model and it doesn't care what the animation is. Shouldn't you just be able to apply a groom to it?
Yeah, it should like, can't you just read UVs or something like that? It's like a very classic way of working.
Yeah, and
They were like, no, you should use FBX. I was like, we're never going to use, this is not going to work. Our rigs are too complex. We can't get them in here.
well,
So-
yeah.
And we need to have shot modeling. And Film Pipeline has always shot model. They're never going to drop that. It's just critical. Okay, let me show the step. So I have my hair here. I need to bind it to this mesh, which is Shrug right here. I'm going to click on my groom that has this symbol, and I'm gonna create binding, and it's a geometry cache because that's what I imported this at. So you have to dictate that, and I can't drag and drop this in. I have to type. I have to find him. Okay, he froze. This is it right here, and we're hit create. And if the meshes are lined up, you will instantly get this. If not, you'll have a fail. So this is like the critical step that binds this hair to that actual mesh, and they have to line up, meaning be on the first frame. Now that I have that, I'm going to create a blueprint. I'll call it Shrog overall BP. I know what that means. And I'm going to open up my blueprint. There's not going to be anything inside. And I'm just going to add these things in here. So I'm going to press add. I want a geometry cache, which is the lembic. You can bring in the lembic as a skeletal mesh, but we've been using geometry cache. It just has worked better for us, especially with hair. And then underneath this, I'm going to add a groom node or point. And now I have a way to attach. So geometry cache, I'm going to add the mesh. If I hit F, I'll see him here. That's the lighting. So that's, I don't know how to rotate the light in here. And I'll go to the groom, and it's going to ask for two things, which is the groom I imported, and it's now also going to ask for the binding asset, which is what binds it together in here. And now he's extremely fuzzy. Okay, let's compile this and let's save. I don't know how he's going to look in here, but I can see he looks very weird. And I'd save that. And I'm going to drag him into the scene. So now I'm going to drag the blueprint and set the location to 0. And I have to find where he's at here. So he starts at frame 70. Drag him from my outliner in here and attach the geometry cache. So this fails a lot, kind of, actually, where I don't know why it takes me multiple times. It kind of stresses me out the first time. Okay. So now I have Shrog in here, the blueprint. I have also the original one. I'm going to hide him. And we'll get into frame. Into the shot. Hold on. He's really weird. Okay, that's his fuzz. What do you think, Miguel?
Done.
No. Okay, so there's things to do. Now that I see him in here, let's look at his groom. One, it might be too bright, but I can also adjust a few things. So the strands are probably too fat. So I can reduce it. So I can say maybe make it 0.5. Ooh, I made it 5, which is really fat. Okay, so now I made the strand, which was default of 1. And it picks up the size of the strand according to Unreal or Maya. And the other thing I can also do is lower the shadow density. So it's not casting like heavy shadows. It's just making it lighter. Because fuzz shouldn't cast like super heavy shadows. I feel like fuzz is kind of tricky. I don't have it down. So that kind of helps it a little. And then his hair is like really blonde. So I think that is adding to it. Let's turn off the random. And let's darken the hair. And that actually is helping it. I don't know what you think. Are you watching?
Watching.
And maybe his hairs are too long.
Yeah, they're way too. He looks like a werewolf.
Well, you got it. I got it in here. I need to like cut it. I need to go back. I can't tell what it looks like until it gets into here. So it's too long. Maybe it's too clumpy, and it used to just be like more noisy and shorter. But this is where we're at. And plus, I think there's too much hair on his mouth. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for today. I have my first pass of too much fuzz.
Werewolf.
What?
He's a werewolf.
Yeah, he's a werewolf. Okay.
Okay.
All right, everyone.
All right. See you guys. Yeah. Guess have a good day.
Have a good one. We'll be back next week.